With your background in economics, please lay out for us what effect you would expect on U.S. wages, manufacturing, etc., including inflation, if, well, interestingly enough, the questioner wrote illegal and crossed it out, and then put undocumented workers if they are effectively blocked from the U.S.
God bless your politically correct heart. By the way, there are two things for which you must give great respect. In the Sampson-Missoula Act of 1986, they had the guts to call it amnesty. They also called the people they were giving amnesty to illegal aliens. And as we reported last night on our broadcast and have before, the New York Times actually used the term illegal aliens in 1986. Some of their same reporters who are working there 21 years later now refer to them as undocumented immigrants. I wonder why they do that. The economic impact. Let's look at the economic impact. George Borjas, Harvard University economist, looked at the impact of excessive immigration. He, by the way, combined illegal and legal immigration, which I think is a horrible mistake to ever make. But the impact was about $200 billion in depressed wages in this country every year as a result of excessive, as he defined it, immigration. Let's assume it's half that, half legal, half illegal. So we start out at $100 billion in depressed wages. What is the economic impact on us? Robert Rector, the Heritage Foundation, has estimated that the retirement costs of the estimated illegal immigrants, aliens, undocumented, whatever, who would be given amnesty. He uses the number 11 million with a possible adjustment to 12 million, and that's a conservative estimate in my judgment. The impact will be $2.6 trillion as a result of retirement costs for those brought into this country over the course of the next 30 years. That's quite significant. It's interesting that the federal government has not made that determination, but rather a foundation, a think tank, had to do so. It is also interesting that no one is looking at the fact that the four principal industries in which illegal aliens work in this country, that is construction, hospitality, leisure, and landscaping, all, of course, need all of this labor, according to the President and to the advocates. But what has been the impact on wages over the course of the past 6 years? Construction wages are in decline by 4% from 2003, the peak. Does that suggest to you a shortage of labor? Hospitality and leisure are stagnant and declined from 2000. Landscaping has declined. Unskilled labor in every respect, making, and by the way, illegal labor, making up 14% of the construction industry. Why in the world are we not demanding an empirical basis for the partisan juggernaut from the left and the right, the Republican and the Democrats? It is because most Americans today are identifying themselves as either Republican or Democrat and willing to take a look at the world through a partisan filter that, as I suggest, originates with nothing more than a marketing and branding organization called either the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. Go down, please, and register as an independent, at least for God's sake. As we move toward Independence Day, don't let anybody take you for granted and for the fools that we've been taken for the past 30 years in this country, if we're to have a future at all. So those are the economic impacts. What will be the impact of the legislation that they're about to bring forward? It has the potential, in my opinion, to be absolutely devastating, and for the reasons that I've just outlined. But just whisper that. And don't let all those facts mull up the partisan thinking in this town and, unfortunately, around the nation.
A number of questions would serve as a follow-up to that that we have here, and what ultimately they get to is, ultimately, how do consumers fare if in those industries you're touching on there have to pay for those, what would be increased wages?
You're right. Yeah, God forbid we should talk about increased wages, because that would have a deleterious inflationary impact on this society. How many of you are afraid of inflation in this economy? Oh, you are a brave and stalwart group. Because inflation is one of those wonderful sort of boogeymen that the right and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the Business Roundtable bring out. Because God forbid your wages go up. How many in this room would like to see their wages go up? Ladies and gentlemen, the next time you hear somebody from that rapturous group of wonderful people, the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the Business Roundtable, talk to you about inflation, just say, go to hell. We're at a wonderful place in our history. Not only are you going to be paying for corporate America's illegal labor program, which they have over the course of the past 20 years brought in 12 to 20 million illegal aliens. My God. They've also managed to keep wages stagnant for the past 30. We've lost 5 million manufacturing jobs. We're outsourcing. Alan Blinder, professor of economics, former vice chairman of the Federal Reserve, member of the Council of Economic Advisors for the president. He estimates only 40 million jobs are at risk to outsourcing. I want to congratulate Business Week magazine, which basically 3 years after my book on exporting America has determined that there may be a small issue here. The economic impact, I want every American to make a living wage. I want every American family to have the opportunity to understand that it's still the American dream, that this is still a free nation, that our fundamental value of equality is our national value. It is our family value. It is our wedge issue. It is whatever you want it to be. It should be number one on the platform of every party, every independent in the country. Equality. We should demand equality, not only for ourselves, but insist upon it for every other American, because that is our fundamental national value. And that national value encompasses equality of opportunity, equality of economic opportunity, equality of educational opportunity. And that fundamental value is being trampled by both political parties today. And if you are so committed to that partisan label that you cannot see that, then you're part of the problem rather than the solution. The economics, 31 years of consecutive trade deficits. Anybody here heard a CEO or Business Roundtable or the Chamber of Commerce say, hey, we got to be competitive and we got to be productive and efficient? You ought to be learning by now what they meant by that. That means they want more illegal labor, they want more low-skilled labor, and they don't want to pay for it. And if they get into a bind, as they have now, they'll just export those middle-class jobs to India, Jamaica, Trinidad, Romania. Did I mention China? Because you see, it's very important to be competitive, efficient, effective, competitive, all code words for the lowest priced labor. It is a straightforward competition that corporate America and their willing political elite accomplices have put our middle class into direct competition with the cheapest labor in the world. What is the economic impact, Mark? Devastating.